introduction.
Hi, my name is Max, and today we'll be making a chocolate cake. 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. 3/4 of a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. 1½ teaspoons of baking soda. 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of salt. 2 eggs. 1 cup of milk. 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And 1 cup of boiling water. So for the water is working with the flour here. So when we mix the flour with the water, the flour contains the proteins, like I already said, that react with the water, making a web of gluten molecules that holds everything together. Alright, so here we have our first ingredient, the flour. So this is the structure for the whole cake, and when mixed with the other ingredients, it creates the batter, and without it, we couldn't have any batter. So there's strength to the batter, which is the gluten being created from the moisture and heat, and it reaches the proteins of the flour. The gluten helps keep its shape, as it is sticky and elastic, so you can make it into the shape you desire by using your hands and any kind of mold you might have at your disposal. So the next ingredient, we have our baking soda, which is right here. So this is used as a leavening agent. Which what is an leavening agent? That is something that allows what you're using to expand. So when you add it, when you add heat to it, the batter rises. So in the baking soda, aka sodium bicarbonate, which the compound is NaHCO3, it creates carbon dioxide, CO2, which lifts the batter once it's heated. Also, sodium carbonate, which is Na2CO3, is created as well. And whenever you can taste it in the cake or anything, in that matter, you get a metallic taste. So to make sure that metallic taste isn't there when you're eating it, an acid can be used to neutralize the taste, such as lemon, yogurt, buttermilk, or unsweetened natural cocoa powder, which we will be using in this recipe. So here we have baking soda, which is a combination of baking soda, cream of tartar, which is also known as potassium bitartrate, which is C4H5KO6, and cornstarch. Sometimes when you see baking powder, you might see like double acting on it, and that means a tiny amount of CO2 gas is being released when you're stirring it, and the rest of it happens when it's heated. Right here, this is our next ingredient, in the cocoa powder, and for the cocoa powder. Like I've explained in the for the baking powder and the soda, the cocoa powder can be used to neutralize the metallic taste from the baking soda when the sodium bicarbonate, which is Na2CO3, is being created. Also, the cocoa powder is used because that is the most important ingredient for making chocolate cake. Without it, you would still have cake and it would not be chocolate cake. Right here we have our vanilla extract, and for the vanilla extract, what it does is it just adds flavor to the cake. It's an optional ingredient, and it's not, you won't see it in every single recipe, but in our case, it's going to be used. So here we have our next ingredient. We have our eggs. this is another big ingredient for the cake. This gives the cake structure, leavening, color, and flavor. When you're mixing it, depending on the amounts of height, it can determine the height and the texture of the cake. So coagulation is happening, which happens during the heating up process and while you're beating it as well, where the cake becomes semi-solid, keeping the ingredients together and preventing anything from falling apart, and you get a soft, fluffy, delicious cake when everything is done. The egg has two parts to it, an egg white and an egg yolk. So the egg white has protein inside of it. But before I continue, I will show you what an egg white is. So you see the yellow part, that is not the egg white. The egg white is the stuff around it. It's kind of hard to see, but around it is kind of like a barrier. It's kind of hard to see, but that's the egg white, and the egg white has protein inside of it. These proteins are strands of amino acids that are coiled up. But when you heat it, this is when the uncoiling process happens. When you heat it, the water molecules and strands collide with each other. The water molecules and strands collide with each other. All the weaker bonds are being broken to loosen those strands, and when it is completely done, it will collide with other strands, with the others, and the others will go to that process if any. Chemical bonds are being connected rather than being binded. So that's it for the egg white part. And for the egg yolk, which is the yellow part, there's something called lecithin, which is located inside of it, and the purpose of that is to make sure the moisture is there so the cake is not dry, but just soft enough. Right here, we have our oil, and sometimes oil can be used to add depth to the flavor, which is what we're going to be using it for this recipe. But the more important part is that it makes sure that the cake is soft, which is what we need it for. The oil is going to coat over the flour. This is very important. As I explained in the flour part, when I had the flour out, the gluten helps keeps its shape as it is sticky and elastic. Having too much of it though isn't good. Having too much would result in the cake being dry and rough, which isn't what is supposed to happen when someone is making a cake. Right here, we have our sugar, or sucrose. For the cake, the sugar C12H22O11 is what makes the cake sweet. It also helps out with the texture of the cake. The sugar is being hygroscopic. What is that, you might ask? That is when the sugar is able to attract water molecules and spreading them throughout the batter. It will keep the cake moist and crispy around the edges of the cake. Here we have another ingredient. We have our milk, and then the point of the milk is just to add some more texture to the cake. Right here, we're coming back to this. We have our last one, the one I did not mention, which is our salt, also known as sodium chloride or NaCl. So this is also to add flavor and strengthens soft fat and sugar mixtures. So this means that everything is balanced out where it should be in the process. Alright, so we have our flours, our extract sugar dry ingredients. So leavening agent plus our salt. Just sifting all the dry ingredients here. Here we have our metallic taste neutralizer, also what makes it our chocolate cake and not just any other cake. Continue to just hit this around. Here I'm about to pour the sucrose, which is also our sweetener, and what helps out the texture of the cake. The salt also adds the flavor, like I said, strengthens the soft fat and sugar mixtures to balance everything out. Alright, so first we have our vanilla extract. Like I said, it just adds our flavor for the cake. Pour that in. Then we have our second wet ingredient. We have our oil, which just adds some depth to the flavor, and it makes sure that the cake stays soft, because we don't want a dry cake when we're eating it. We have our milk, which just adds to the texture of the cake, because we all love texture. I know I do. Love texture. And then we have the big wet ingredient, the eggs, which has the leavening, adds color and flavor. It's the wet cake structure ingredient. And as I'm about to start this up. Okay, it's starting to mix, and yeah. So as I was explaining earlier, for the eggs, we have the coiled amino acids, and right now it's starting to uncoil a little bit, not completely though, not completely. It's uncoiling. Some of the weaker bonds, they're being broken, which is how it's being uncoiled. But the rest of it's gonna be uncoiled when we add everything else, and it's being baked in the oven. That's when the rest of the uncoiled, once the rest of the coiled amino acid strands will be like completely uncoiled, and it's just gonna be just a long strand that's not coiled. And now I'm gonna add the sifted dry ingredients. Lastly, we have our boiled water. As you can see all the smoke coming out from it. I don't know if you can see it, but smoke's coming out of it. And it's gonna work with the flour and with this batter I just have, and it's gonna help with creating that web of gluten molecules that will hold everything together when the batter's completely like mixed and everything. So I'm just gonna add it right here. So in the recipe, it says that before I can add the batter, I have to grease the pan first. And to grease the pan, I'm going to use a stick of butter. And now that the pan is greased, I'm going to add this batter to the pan. The oven's being set to 350 degrees, and we're going to put the cake batter in for half an hour. So the structure ingredients is being at work, especially the flour and the egg too. So the gluten is being formed, and it's giving it that elasticity that you can like bend it and all that stuff. And it's starting to get harder, which is what it's supposed to be. And also the amino acid strands, like I was talking about before, it was starting to uncoil as it was being mixed with the weaker ones being broken. Now a lot of collision between the other amino acid strands are happening right now, and it's gonna completely uncoil by the end. Alright, so all the ingredients have finally done their job, and we're left with this beautiful piece of artwork, also known as cake, chocolate cake.